Yo, what is up, YouTube? Back with another video, and today we are continuing the very small series. This is the second and last video. Today's video is about the Denver Broncos. So there's a very small amount of teams that I believe are contenders next season. Maybe Super Bowl, very high playoff seeding, we'll see. And the thing is that some of these teams you don't expect to be good. So many of these teams include the Cardinals, the Titans, the Steelers, maybe the Buccaneers, if you interpret it that way. But today's video is about the Broncos, and this team is definitely legit next season. So before I start with the video, I'd really encourage you to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. We really appreciate it here at True Business Review. We've been growing fast, and if we reach 1,000 subs, there's no way I can explain how happy we'd be. So I'd really appreciate it if you guys hit that subscribe button. Let's get into the video. So the Denver Broncos was a team that wasn't that bad last season. They finished 7-9 and didn't really have a really good start to the season. They clutched out and they finished second in the AFC West. And I believe this is all due to their quarterback, Drew Lock. So Drew Lock definitely did have a great end of the season there. I believe Drew Lock started 5 games. This is off the top of my head, but I believe he started 5 games and he won 4 of them, and I think he lost to Kansas City. But I guess you can say that's expected. They're the Chiefs and they won the Super Bowl. So the Broncos definitely have potential next season, and the offense is going to be legit. But first, let's talk about the Pro Bowlers on this team. So recently they did trade for Melvin Gordon, or they picked up Melvin Gordon from the Chargers, and Melvin Gordon is a really good running back. The Chargers didn't want to sign him to a long-term contract. I don't know why. I guess they didn't think he was worth it. So Melvin Gordon did sign with the Broncos, adding to a decent running back core. So you're going to have Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay. I would say that Melvin Gordon would get the more carries, but Melvin Gordon has been a Pro Bowler. 2 seasons ago in 2018, the Chargers were 12-4, and Melvin Gordon absolutely had a great season. He sat out more than half of the season last year. So Melvin Gordon's definitely a great running back, great pickup for them. Another Pro Bowler they have for numerous years, of course, is Von Miller, Super Bowl champ. This dude is a beast, one of the best linebackers in the NFL. Definitely a Pro Bowler. And another Pro Bowler they've had, Casey Kreiter, who did not perform in their Pro Bowl and was replaced with Chris Harris Jr., which is also on the Broncos. So those were all Pro Bowlers from 2 seasons ago, actually, and Philip Lindsay was on that list too. So we have 2 Pro Bowler running backs on the same team and a really great defensive captain from 2018, of course. And in 2019, they had Pro Bowlers Von Miller and wide receiver Courtland Sutton, who definitely had a great season after the Broncos traded Emmanuel Sanders to the 49ers. This dude was just having a great season. So obviously the Denver Broncos had one of the more interesting drafts. And I'll talk about that later in the video when I talk about the offense, because they did not draft defensive players in the first 2 rounds. So it's very interesting there, and this is why probably Broncos fans are very hyped. And yes, Broncos fans should have the right to be hyped because these wide receivers are killer. But before I talk about that, I really do want to talk about this team's defense. So the Broncos defense for a long time has been decent. Von Miller is probably the reason why. But this defense has been really good in the last 5 years, 6 years, and has won them a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. So the Broncos did lead the NFL in red zone defense last season. In the red zone, they played the best out of every team in the NFL, which is really good because you want to stop touchdowns from being scored, which wins you games. Of course, defense wins you games. And they ranked in the top 10 in points allowed. So that's pretty good. And they were 12th in yards allowed. So that's not the worst. That's pretty good. And this defense is solid enough to win them games. I want to say it's the best defense, but it's really good. And if you don't have a good offense when you have a decent defense, then this team is not going to be good. But I believe they will have a good offense. I'll talk about that later, though. So let's talk about the Denver Broncos defense. Let's start with Von Miller. So you can see on your screen right here, these are the stats from Von Miller. All the asterisk things are Pro Bowl appearances, and the plus signs are first team All-Pro. So you can see that this dude's just had an amazing career. He's very notable with all these sacks, averaging I'd say around 12 sacks his career. And last season definitely was his worst season, in my opinion. Maybe besides of 2013, but last year wasn't the best. It's probably just an off year, but he definitely did perform well in every other season. He made the Pro Bowl last year too, so even though he didn't perform the best last year, it was still really good. As you can see all these stats, 14.5 sacks, 18.5 sacks, amazing stats. So all these forced fumbles in the previous years, 4, 2, 3, 4. This dude's just great for the Broncos defense. So another player on this defense, Todd Davis, is a very intelligent human being, and he did lead the team in tackles last season. So tackling is definitely a great thing to do, especially when teams are really good at rushing the ball or throwing slants, short passes, that kind of stuff. Tackling prevents first downs, prevents touchdowns. I guess you can say that Todd Davis was very good in the red zone, probably contributed to that best team in the red zone stat. So you look at these tackles, he had 134 combined tackles and 78 solo tackles. In the year before, he had 114 combined tackles and 80 solo tackles. So this dude's definitely a beast, and he is a great leader for this Denver Broncos defense as a linebacker, of course. Now, the next person on this list is a very interesting player because this player was injured for most of the season last year. So Bradley Chubb, I believe, was drafted in 2018. He's only played 2 seasons, and this dude is a beast. So he's a linebacker, so this defense does have a great linebacker core, and he's a linebacker for the Broncos, and he absolutely had a great rookie season with 12 sacks, 1 fumble recovery, 2 forced fumbles, and he started all of their games as a starter, as a rookie. But this dude did get injured last season, and he only played in 4 games. So the stats diminished because he was injured. But as you can see, his rookie season, this dude went absolutely off. And he's definitely going to be a key contributor to this defense next season. So we don't know for sure, but if he gets injured next season, that's not going to be good. But if this dude is healthy the entire year, Bradley Chubb is going to have another great season. This defense is going to be scary. Watch out for the Broncos. So the Denver Broncos also did trade for Jacksonville cornerback A.J. Boye. So I remember A.J. Boye playing against the Steelers, and he absolutely ripped us. I'm a Steelers fan. And, the Jacksonville defense was legit. It was really great. But I guess you can say that the Jacksonville Jaguars as a whole, they weren't well coached. They lost their cool in every game. They were definitely the most disrespectful team, and they were not well mannered at all. And you can see that they had no discipline, and you can see this team, it had all the talent in 2018, and it just didn't do good. And neither did the defense. And that led all the players to playing worse and to leaving the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we saw in 2019 that, A.J. Boye didn't have the best season. But we did see that when the Jacksonville Jaguars were really, really, really good in 2017, A.J. Boye did have 6 interceptions and started in the Pro Bowl as a Jaguar. So he did get traded to the Broncos, and this is a really great pickup. So as we can see, his stats did diminish, but I honestly just think that happened because this team was, poorly disciplined on keeping their cool. So the best part about this trade is that the Denver Broncos defense already is good. So as you can see, A.J. Boye played really good when the Jacksonville defense was really good. So you expect that to happen again probably. So don't expect anything less from A.J. Boye. This dude could be a Pro Bowler next season. Could have an amazing season for the Denver Broncos as a cornerback. So another player on this defense, safety Justin Simmons, is a strong safety for the Denver Broncos. He's definitely had a decent amount of games played. He had 4 interceptions last season, and he had 3 interceptions the season before that. So he's definitely consistent. I believe he may have fumbled the ball once, but whatever. So this dude is an interception beast. And of course, their defensive back, Kareem Jackson, he's also played decently well for this defense. He had 2 interceptions last season and 1 forced fumble, which is pretty decent. So turnovers definitely win games, and this defense does have really good talent, really, really good experience. Every player I've listed so far besides Bradley Chubb is a veteran in the league, and I believe Bradley Chubb is going to also be like a veteran next season, even though he was out the entire year. So this defense is scary. I would not be surprised if this defense immediately went up to top 5 in the NFL, because the players, the coordination, the defensive coordinator, they're all together. Everything's good there, and this offense is going to be good enough for the defense to get some rest and to play better. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is this team's schedule. Obviously, this team is in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I honestly don't think the Broncos are going to win their division, but I do believe they'll get a decent wild card spot, maybe 5 or 6, which is good enough for them to win. The Titans did it last season, but of course, if they play the Chiefs in the playoffs, it's easy. They could easily win that game and upset everybody. So don't count out the Broncos in that kind of way. But I definitely think the Chiefs are going to win their division because, they're the Chiefs Super Bowl champs. Pat Mahomes is a beast. But the Denver Broncos could definitely push the Chiefs for, the number 1 seed in their division. But we'll see. So this team's schedule, since they did clutch up at the end of the season last year, they do play second place teams, Pittsburgh and Tennessee. And they do start against these teams. So they do host the Tennessee Titans week 1. And I believe they should win that game. And then they go to Pittsburgh week 2, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will win that game. But the rest of the schedule is not that hard. So home field advantage, I've definitely seen this. Home field advantage for the Denver Broncos is really great. I think it's one of the best home field advantages in the NFL, up there with New England. So we saw really good teams go in the Broncos stadium, and they absolutely get destroyed, and the Broncos weren't even that good at the time they played them. And you wonder why. It's definitely because of that stadium, the altitude, that place. It's so hard to play in. And the Broncos players are used to it. And this is definitely a very good favor for them because they play the harder teams on their schedule at home. So I do believe that they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They do play them week 3. And I don't know. They could lose this game. They could win. But I don't know if the Buccaneers are going to be too good. Probably be really good at this point. We'll see. It's only Tom Brady's 3rd week as a starter. But this game is at home, so fortunate for them. And they do play the Saints at home. So they do play the 2 hardest teams in the NFC South at home. Very fortunate for them. They do play at the Jets, at the Patriots. So we'll see about those games. I think they should beat the Jets, maybe beat the Patriots. We'll see. The Jets are definitely a team that could surprise us all, but I think the Patriots are definitely going to downgrade, and I think the Broncos actually should win this game, which means they do play, of course, at the Falcons, at the Panthers, and, of course, the rest of the division, meaning they play the Dolphins at home, too, and the Bills at home. So I do believe the Bills are the better team in the AFC East, so that's very fortunate for them there. And they, of course, play the Chiefs at home once on the road, probably win one of those. I think they're going to 2-0 the Chargers. I think the Chargers are trash. And I think they'll probably most likely split 1-1 with the Raiders. So this team definitely has a very fortunate schedule. The harder games are at home, and it's very hard to play in Denver. So don't underestimate the Broncos' schedule. It's definitely not that bad. They can definitely get above 11 wins. So look out for the Broncos. Let's go. All right, so now I want to talk about this team's offense. Just like most of the teams in the NFL, the offense really revolves around a good quarterback. And at the entire season, we did see a couple bad quarterbacks start for this team, including Joe Flacco. But at the end of the season, they actually decided to start rookie Drew Lock. So Drew Lock did start 5 games and went 4-1, and he had pretty good stats. So I believe he had a 64.1 completion percentage, not the best, but he did have 1,020 yards in 5 games. That would have been like a 3,000-yard season, maybe more, if he played the entire season. So he's definitely pretty good there. And he had 7 touchdowns in 5 games. So that's pretty good. He also did have 3 interceptions, which isn't, the best. But he was a rookie, and there's really nothing else you can expect from a rookie QB but to throw interceptions. But only 3 in 5 games, that's not too bad as a rookie. So at the end of the season, Drew Lock did start 5 games, and the last game of the season, they played the Raiders at home for the Broncos, and they barely won that game, giving them 2nd place in division. They played at home against the Lions and absolutely destroyed them. 27-17, and they played at Kansas City. Nothing else to expect but to lose, and they did lose that game pretty badly. But one of the more impressive wins that Drew Lock had as a starter was against the Houston Texans. They beat the Houston Texans 38-24, and this game was in Houston. And the week before that, he started against the Chargers at home, and they beat the Chargers 20-23. So some of these scores, like the Texans game, are actually very impressive for Drew Lock. And if he started the whole season, they could have had a better record easily. So no doubt about it, Drew Lock is going to have a good season next year, and I really wouldn't underestimate him. So next, I got to talk about the running backs. Obviously, they got Melvin Gordon from the Chargers, a division rival, and Melvin Gordon has had decently good stats. So looking at these stats, he actually did play 12 games last year, and I said he didn't earlier, but I got to change my mind there. So he actually did play 12 games last year, and in those 12 games, he had 162 rush yards with 612 attempts and 8 touchdowns. So as we can see in 2017, he did have 284 rushing attempts. It's over 120 more than the previous year, 2 years, and he had literally less than half of the rushing yards. So if Melvin Gordon were to start the entire season next year, which I doubt will happen, this dude could have around like 1,200 rushing yards, maybe 1,300. He definitely did have one of the best seasons in 2018 as a running back with 10 touchdowns, 885 rushing yards, and 175 rushing attempts, but he only did play 12 games. So if he does play every game, if he's healthy every game, plays 16, and you already know the running backs on this team are going to be great because they also have Philip Lindsay. So Philip Lindsay is definitely an inspiration to many people. Many people didn't think he'd have any talent in the NFL, and he just surprised everybody. Made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, undrafted rookie, and he had the last 2 seasons he's had 1,000+ yard seasons, 1,037 and 1,011, both really great stats, 7 touchdowns, and look at these stats. So as a running back, a rookie running back that was undrafted, you already know Philip Lindsay's going to have another great season, which brings me to the point that this offensive line is definitely great for rushing, creates pockets, holes, and it does say that Melvin Gordon is going to be a starter, so I don't really know how this is going to work, because Melvin Gordon lights up if he, starts every game, but gets most of the carries. And we saw that last year with Austin Eckler, where when they split, Melvin Gordon didn't really play too well. So I do expect Melvin Gordon to get more snaps than Philip Lindsay, but I really wouldn't be surprised if that didn't happen, because both of these running backs by themselves, will do really great. So I don't really know what's going to happen. If maybe they'll start half of the game 50-50 load, but I don't know. We'll see. I think Melvin Gordon's going to get more stats and more rush attempts, so we'll see. I believe this running back position is going to be really good for the Denver Broncos. But come on now, we got to talk about the wide receivers. So this wide receiver group is definitely hype because they did draft in the first round Jerry Jeudy, and in the second round they drafted KJ Hamler. So first, let's talk about Courtland Sutton, of course. So Courtland Sutton was a rookie in 2018, and his sophomore season last year was incredible. As soon as Emmanuel Sanders was traded, Courtland Sutton became a really great wide receiver, and he made the Pro Bowl as a sophomore, having 1,112 yards, 72 receptions, 6 touchdowns. So this dude definitely had a really great season, was lighting it up in fantasy football. And he didn't even have most of the load the entire season because Emmanuel Sanders was traded earlier, but not the entire season. So when this dude plays as wide receiver 1 the entire year next year, I expect another Pro Bowl. I expect around 1,200 to 1,300 yards for Courtland Sutton. He's definitely going to have a great year. But we actually got to talk about these wide receivers that were drafted. So Jerry Jeudy, a first-round draft pick, he's one of the top 3 wide receivers in the draft, and the Broncos snagged him. So this is definitely a really great draft pick because their second-string wide receiver, and, Denver aren't the best. But Jerry Jeudy's definitely going to have a great year. He's definitely a top prospect for the wide receiver group. But KJ Hamler, all I got to say is this dude is lights out. So I can say this with a fact, with most confidence I've ever had in my life, because I'm actually a Penn State fan. So, yes, I will be going to Penn State. And watching KJ Hamler in every game last season, he was just lights out. This dude was the fastest. This dude caught everything. And I believe he was so underranked in the draft that whichever team got him would be a steal, and Denver Broncos got a steal in the draft. So KJ Hamler actually was a sophomore last season at Penn State. He was so good that, he had to declare for the draft. The Broncos got him. He's easily going to be a starter for this team, and I expect a lot of deep passes, a lot of touchdowns, and I think KJ Hamler might have a better season than Jerry Jeudy, in my opinion. KJ Hamler is going to be a lights out for this team. Do not underestimate this wide receiver group. It is amazing. So another player on this offense is their tight end, Noah Fant. So he was a rookie last season, along with Drew Lock, and he was really good for this team. He started all 16 games. Well, he played in all 16 games, started 11. He had 40 receptions and 562 receiving yards. So this offense is basically stacked, and this is the problem though. It's all young players. The QB is a second year, the wide receivers, rookies, third year wide receiver Courtland Sutton, tight end second year. So this is one of the brightest and youngest, offensive groups in the NFL, which could be solid for, a solid 10 seasons. But the problem is it going to connect? And honestly, I think it will. This offense is going to connect. Like I said in the beginning, this defense is lights out. I mean, it's not the best, but it's pretty good. And this team is definitely going to upset a lot of great opponents they play next season. So watch out for the Denver Broncos. Don't underestimate them. They're legit. That's all I got to say. Thanks for watching. Adios.